up, Lab Code Agents? Welcome to another episode of The Real Lab. Today I'm joined by my brother from another mother, Mr. Kevin Markarian, and our special guest is the real estate marketing dude himself, Mr. Mike Cuevas. How's it going, Mike?
What's up, Sunit? What's up, Kevin? How you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So today, our topic is how to build a strong personal brand your database remembers. Mike, guys, is a master of this. I've been learning from him since the first day that I met, that I ever met him. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you qualified to talk about this topic, bro?
Sure. Well, my entire career started in 2002, graduated from college. Real estate's the only job I ever had. Went from the fraternity house to Michigan Avenue, started selling $400,000 condos. And how I did it was simply by standing out. I've always, taken, in college, you don't really use much of your degree, right? But I did use the last 2 years where a lot of it was marketing, advertising. So what I learned early on in my career was really simple. First day, the reason why I started doing this is because I was sitting there with my best friend in the world. We're at happy hour, because that's what 22-year-olds do on a Thursday, at 4 p.m. And when we're at happy hour, we started to have a couple beers. About 3 or 4 beers in, he decides to tell me, oh yeah, I just referred this $400,000 listing to this real estate agent. She was really cute. I said, oh my God, if my best friend doesn't know what I do for a living, how would anyone else? And this is someone that I see on every 2 or 3 days. And those people who are listening right now are seeing the same thing. Like each one of you have logged on to Facebook this year and seen somebody that has bought or sold without you. And it felt like there's a dagger going through your knife. It happens to all of us. See, I realized that people didn't remember me like my first and last name, Mike Cuevas. They remembered my brand. And I knew that if I created a brand out of my real estate business and I married the two together, that my best friends would be more likely to remember what I did for a living. And that's what I've always done since. I didn't ever realize I was practicing content marketing or branding, but I was the entire time. I didn't realize it until after I started watching like Gary Vee really. And I was like, whoa, that's what I've been doing, bro. So that's really what it is.
And then so once you started doing that, it led to real estate success. And I mean, when you were 22, what was that, like 15, 16 years back, right? I mean,
dude, what do you think? I'm a dinosaur, bro? Like, look how old I am. Dude, I did have a gray hair, but yeah, I guess you're right. It's probably 2002, so do the math, 15, 16 years back. Yeah, Sunit, it's really, I tell this story when I speak a lot, and it's funny. I got started in the nightclub industry, all right, when I was 22, 23, 24. Now, I didn't work at the nightclubs. I frequented them. I was their best customer. So literally, I knew every night, and people think it's crazy when I say this, but back then in 2002, we didn't have video email. I didn't even really know how to use Facebook at that time the way we use it today. So what we did have was yellow pads of papers. This is a white one. We had yellow pads of paper. I stuck that yellow pad of paper in the back of my pocket. And while everyone was getting drunk at 2 or 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I started writing down their email addresses and direct mail addresses. I knew that if I studied stats, so I knew 10 to 15% of the people I was talking to, they were moving, but that wasn't the main reason why I was talking to them. I was talking to them because I knew 100% of them had a referral for me. And I would literally find a new client or lead every time I went out. And what I realized was that it's just, this is a conversation starter. It's no different than how you probably look at Zillow or Realtor.com leads. You have to talk to 50 people before you convert one or whatever your metrics are. I know I had to talk to 10 to 15. And that's what building a brand is. You build a brand, and this is the thing that everyone confuses. They're like, what the hell's a brand? I'm a brand. I'm an individual real estate agent, right? Feels weird. Like you're a brand, Sunit. But most of us don't think of ourselves as a brand. Well, if you're going to go open a retail store, what the hell are you? Is that a brand? All right. So that's the first mental mind shift. But if you don't do anything differently, or you don't do anything with your logo strategically, it's just harder to be remembered. So my whole goal was always to fight for the attention of others. I don't fight for lead gen, I fight for attention. And I know that people buy and sell houses with agents they know, like, and trust. So my only goal, I think it's a popularity contest. I want to be the kid in high school that throws the keggers. Right. It's the same exact thing. Yeah. It's like you, and some of you too, Kevin. I mean, all you guys, dude, like all of our friends, people that we know, we all have a lot in common, and all of us are very outgoing. We network a lot. Like we're social, we're conversationalists. And that's what building a brand is. Don't forget I exist. That's the only goal.
So here, I have a question for you on that, Mike. So we're talking, you mentioned something that we're all outgoing, we're networkers, whatever. We get out there, we talk to people. You talk about going to the nightclub, meeting people and getting their email addresses. I mean, that takes a lot of, it takes an outgoing person to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, like an outgoing person, it's easy for them, I think, to get out there and do these things. What about a person who's not outgoing? What about a person that's
very good question. So I believe everyone has a brand, and I believe God made one of us, right? Now, the reason is that everyone is different. Therefore, I believe everyone can stand out. Now, there's two types of audiences to build your brand with. For the more introverted agents, I don't care what you say, 100 to 200 people you'd invite to your wedding or funeral. And if you don't, you're probably in the wrong business. We don't have to. I've never really looked far and wide. I've never bought in leads. I've never had to do any of that because I've always concentrated on my core group of people. I know this is statistics no differently than the way you guys read statistics with online lead gen. You know your metrics. I know mine. 10 to 15% of the population moves, which is safe to say that 10 to 15% of my network moves each and every year. 100% of them have a referral for me. Those are the only two metrics I play. And now my goal is to double my audience, build my audience, build the amount of people that know what I have to say. And that's why when we're talking about branding, it's about being everywhere all of the time. It's about being active in storytelling on social media, Facebook, not just Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. It's about consistently marketing your database via email and not with crap content like, hey, let's go turn back to email or turn back to clock, bro. Or, hey, it's springtime outside. No shit, look at it. I can see. It's right there. So it's just about doing things that are different. Like I would do Groundhog's Day videos. Why? Because nobody else did. So Warren Buffett once said famously, he's like, when they zig, I zag. When I zag, they zig. I did the exact same thing because I knew it was a game of attention. People are going to do business with people they know, like, and trust, but only when you are remembered. So I just got back from an event in Minnesota with our friends Mike and Long. And I do this every time I speak. I go, whether there's 20 people in the room or whether there's 50, most times it's always realtors and a few mortgage brokers. I go, I want you guys to raise your hands and tell me how many of you are moving in the next 6 months. The statistic in Minnesota was 11%. 3 people out of 33 or something like that were in the room. Now, the funny thing is I go, well, there's probably 2 or 3 more of you that have no idea you're going to move in the next 6 months or next 6 to 12 months because life happens. Some of you are going to get a divorce. Some of you are going to get knocked up. Some of you are going to get this. It's just the way it is, right? So I like to play those numbers. And as long as you follow those metrics, it's just a freaking giant popularity contest, I believe.
So when you talk about campaigns, sending out campaigns, being everywhere all the time, like that's a big challenge to come up with those campaigns.
Yep.
So like, what do we do?
Yeah. Well, you start by hiring a real estate marketing dude, shameless plug. But
that was a great setup.
Yeah, you like that? You like that?
Yeah.
So what do? Well, it's like this. Like I can look at somebody and determine how they are and build a story around their brand, but I can't look at myself and do it because I'm in the weeds, right? And it's hard. It's really hard for someone else. I go down the hall here and I talk to Sam. Sam, what the hell am I doing wrong? Oliver, beat this up. And then they throw me under the bus. They beat me up with wrenches, you name it. But you need that because the truth is that it's very hard when you're in the weeds. Most people and most of us don't even like talking about ourselves, yet alone thinking of ourselves as a brand and coming up with a strategy that comes out behind it. So the brand is just who you are. That's the weirdest part about it. It's just your personality is your brand. Your personality and your brand is what people remember you from. So it's your brand story. So I could give you a couple examples so our listeners get an idea on that. Let me look around my office. I'm trying to figure out a brand we've recently done. Let me give you an example. One guy is called the House Doctor. The House Doctor used to own 6 MRI centers. Obamacare came along. They ran him out of business. So he had to reinvent himself. His whole network thought he was a freaking doctor because he owned the MRI centers. He's always with the doctors. He's always there. So we branded him the House Doctor. Now, for him, because he's a newer agent, it's the brand that they remember because in every one of his videos, he's wearing a white coat and a stethoscope. What does he talk about on the media strategy? He talks about home remedies for houses. Like imagine how to kick your heating bill's ass this winter, right? And he's got a little doctor stethoscope. People remember the story you stand for, not necessarily what you do. And when you marry that within the content strategy, when you take what you do for a living, in this case, real estate, and my personality, everything you do is a subliminal reminder that you exist and what you do.
I think that is great advice. The whole thing. You should write everything you just said down and use it next time you go on stage, dude, because that was really good. So let's go into some of these questions that we have for the Real Lab. So, you've been in real estate, you've been, this marketing expert, working on software, moved your family across the country to get more into this business, which, as you know, I think it's super brave. I'm proud of you for doing that huge move, that kind of stuff. I don't ever want to leave NorCal.
You should do it.
I
Fun.
can move to San Diego, but so underneath the hood of an amazing person, there's usually a deeper purpose and a why, right? So I know you, Mike, you're always working at getting better. You're driven by just getting huge, and you're like such a big picture guy that I find awesome, right? So what are a few factors that help you have a clear vision and kind of, what is your why as well?
I love change. I love being the center of it. So, in all honesty, when I made the move, one of the reasons, and you guys hear this all the time, is like you have to surround yourself with the people. You have to surround yourself with the right people. So you know who I'm surrounded with now. I mean, that was a great move. As a matter of fact, we've started another business just based off of that move that would have never happened. So if I didn't make the move. So when you believe in something, you just have to fucking do it. How many books have you read where somebody has said, hey, yeah, it was really tough. I was in the car and I was doing this, but we did it. And it turns into a book and a success story. There is nothing that exists in life without taking on some sort of form of risk. And I was willing to risk it. And I think it was a good move. It's so different in your real estate business. Realtors are like, oh, I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if I should do that. I'm like, why? Be you, dude. That's it. That's all you have. Especially in this business. The connection that we have with people is the only thing we have over the purple dicks of the world. That's what we have over Zillow. That's what we have over online leads. That's what we have over tech companies. Connections, relationships.
Well, and the thing about the technology and Zillows and all these things is, and even with the branding and the marketing that you're talking about, is about the relationship. It gets us to that's one step closer to the relationship. So what you're talking about with regards to being everywhere all the time, it creates a warmer exchange.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So that by the time that like a person connects with you, by the time you actually meet that person, they know so much about you already. And we talk about this all the time, Sunit, like when we're talking about recruiting and doing all the things that we're doing with agents and stuff like that, is like, and with our branding and our marketing that we're sending out to clients, even by the time they get to us, they already know about us. They already know everything about us. They know our story. They know they want to work with us. They know they want to work with us, right? So the more you put yourself out there with content that you're talking about, the easier it will be when you get to the face-to-face, right? And that's what we're talking about, Mike.
The whole branding thing, I look at it as more of like a conversion add-on, right? Because you're exactly right. All we're doing is bringing the human side out of people. And in today's day and age, that's like what people really, really want. Like 15 years ago, Kevin, do you think I would have had a chance starting a brand called Real Estate Marketing Dude?
No.
No, I would have been done. Like people would be like, who the fuck is that? That guy's crazy, dude. Holy crap. He said, dude. But this whole social media thing has allowed us all to sort of be more open, be whom we are, right? And be more personable. And I think ultimately what people really want from someone at the end of the day, especially in a real estate agent, is they just want to trust you. They don't want to freaking interview 5 agents. Like, do you want to interview 5 financial planners? I mean, spare me, dude. Like, nobody wants to do that. Right. So if we can make that easier on them, I think that's really all we're doing. We're bringing the human side out. And that's what branding really is it's I'm not looking to generate a lead. However, when I do generate a lead, they're easier to convert.
Right.
I'll give you an example. We did this last week. 2 listings. Tell me if you guys agree or disagree with this. 2 listings, right? You go on, one listing's a referral and one listing's an opt-in from realtor.com. Which one is more likely to ask you to go under 5%?
Realtor.com.
Absolutely, because the connection isn't present. Like,
Right.
do you ever ask anyone that you know well on a personal level, people that you respect, people that you admire, to take a discount? You only do it to the people, besides Sunit, of course. But you only do it to the people that, like, you only do it to the people that you don't really have any connection with because you don't give a shit.
Right.
Right? So the connection is 10 times as the amount of leads. And we could do this in the same thing. For all the women listening right now, this is going to strike a chord with you. I want you to go get your haircut next time you get a haircut at Supercuts, not the $200 haircut at the styling salon. Now, everyone's probably like, holy shit, freaking out because they wouldn't go to Supercuts because they have a relationship with that hairdresser. They think that hairdresser is so freaking important in their life because they are part of their life. They sit there, they talk about the husband, the dogs, the kids, whatever, and they form a connection there. Do you think that the women say, hey, hairstylist, hook me up 50% off. It's Thanksgiving. What things that hairstylists can say? Go get bent.
Right.
Well, and this is something that's really relevant to, I think, a lot of people, a lot of the people listening to Kevin and myself. We are huge online lead guys, like massive, right? And I know, Mike, you and I always have this conversation, and Kevin and, we just had Gail on the Real Lab a couple of weeks ago, Gail Zentek, who's also a big relationship person, right? I mean, she uses cards, you use all this other kind of media, but you do cards as well, right? So I think it's something that's important for every listener out there who wants more business is, there's all kinds of changes happening in the online lead space every single day.
So
Cindy, you brought up a good point. There's one business model, and that's recession proof, and that's having a strong personal brand, period. The market will change again. The brand doesn't. It'll stay there forever. So, the way that I look at, and everyone's like, what's ROI? What's ad expense? What's all that? You can't really put a number on it because it's not like buying leads. When you buy leads after that 30 days, you buy new leads, and that money spent is well done. When you're creating content and media around your brand, you're storing that shit on YouTube, your website. It lives forever. It's not going anywhere unless you just throw it away. So you can't really put a number on what one freaking video is or that, because you never know what's going to happen to it down the road or where it leads to.
But here's the power of the branding that you're talking about, is that if you are buying leads, you can brand to those people too.
Oh yeah, exactly. That should be your number 2 or your number 3 in the funnel for the ads, because you're exactly right. It's like when you, like the about videos, like having a great about video that really just brings out your personality should absolutely be the number 2 or 3 retargeting ad on a website clicks or on engagement consumption or video consumption, because it's what warms them up. Now, when you follow back up, people are like, oh yeah, I think I saw your shit. And you're like, you watch that? Right? And it happens to you, I'm sure, Kevin, when you go to events.
All the time.
How many people approach you, and Sunit too, like how many people approach you when you come to events? Now, the question is that if you weren't on camera ever talking and doing stuff like this, would they?
Right. And it's really easy, right? I mean, it's just about putting the content out. I mean, if what we're doing right now is one avenue to getting yourself out there. And really what I think when you talk about leads, when we're talking about leads, like Sunit said, we do a ton of online lead generation. So I'm thinking about the comparison between the two. And the way I look at it, at the end of the day, it's all about the relationship. Always. That the leads are to get you to the relationship. Right?
Yeah, they're conversation starters.
That's icebreaker. That's what I call it, an icebreaker. So the difference is it's going to cost a lot more to do the lead gen, and it's more volume. You're going to go through a lot more people to get to like that point where you're meeting face to face. Whereas with branding, you're exposing yourself. It's just a warmer approach. And I think by the time, like if you do enough of the branding, by the time you get to the relationship, by the time you get to the face to face, it's just a lot easier.
Yeah.
Branding builds relationships. Leads build conversations, right? So, oh look, we got a little Oliver Grass here. But yeah, that's totally what it is. It really does help on that. But here's the other thing I want to say. This is extremely important. I can't tell you the number of people. I think it's probably over 80%. I would safely say the number of people. I like to use the term transactional brokerages because they close on the client. Boom, they're gone. They never talk to them again. 80% of people never forget their agent's name after 6 months. Folks, 13% of business came from repeat clients. 51% from referrals. You not staying in touch with those people is business suicide.
Right.
You know, like you're killing your own business. It's crazy.
And in addition to doing we do a lot of email drip campaigns, follow-up campaigns, and so forth. In addition to that, we should be including the branding on there too, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And so I want to get into like the specifics now. Like we're talking a lot more general, generally here. Like what in terms of how many posts? Like what should we be saying on the posts? What should we be doing? Like if it's whether we're hiring someone on our own, what's the best? What should we be posting?
This is the importance of understanding what your message is. Say, let's just use mine for an example. I'm a dude. I talk like a dude. I act like a dude. I misspell shit on Facebook all the time because I don't give a shit. It's just who I am, right? Like, who the hell am I going to teach someone about branding if I'm not even being my own brand myself? This is just the way I was born, right? At the end of the day, that's all the brand is how many agents you come across try to be someone they're not.
Right.
And when you just start being you, it's really that simple. So like, go ahead, Kevin.
What I was going to say is what you're saying is you're not necessarily saying go out and say cuss words and be a dude or whatever. Be yourself.
No.
Right? Be real. Yeah. Be real with yourself. Be who you are.
Yeah, I'm one of the few people I know that could just drop an F-bomb and people won't be pissed off about it. But I've seen some people try to do that, and literally it's like the whole room's like, what the fuck? Like the whole thing is all nuts. So, but yeah, here's the importance, Kevin.
Yeah.
The brand you live. Okay, a brand's a brand, like you live it. So let me give you an example. If your work, let me think of a good example, a recent one. Let's do one. We branded someone's tagline. She's not a real estate agent. She's a bodybuilder. She happens to sell houses. Okay. There's a difference in positioning. So what she provides financially fit decisions.
Oh, good one.
Right. So like you can tie when you know what your brand is, you just slide it in with all of your messaging. The same way my dudeness is just me being me. The gal I'm talking about with her gymness is just her being her. And she's like, oh, this one worked out really well. Right. Like you live it. It's that repetition, creating your own hashtags. And when you have that persona intact and you know what that message is, the longevity of the campaign is endless. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But like you said before, I think a big challenge a lot of people face is it's like they're in the weeds, like you said. It's hard to determine what you are, who you are, your brand, your story. Like it's hard to do that for yourself. Yep. And you said you went outside to find out how to, right? So what do you recommend for people? Like they can hire you, right? Or what are some other options for them? I mean,
there are none.
Yeah, what's the strategy? what is the strategy for somebody who's on the opposite side of the country? What can they do today, this week, this month to get this going until we do our next reel out?
Here, put it this way. So I want you guys to look at your last 10 transactions. Okay. Actually, let's just do this test with or actually you're more on the team lead side, but let me say this. Do your last 10 transactions. Have you realized that 8.5 or 9 of them are like your beer drinking buddies? You know, it's weird when we think about that. Now, that's not done on accident. Okay. You attract like people. We use the term all the time, brothers from another mother, right? Sisters from another mister. We all call each other brothers from another mother, right? You guys are all my brothers from another mother. But what I'm saying is when you build a brand, what we're targeting is demographics, not geographics. So I'm saying your brand is a spitting image of you. So instead of farming a generalized neighborhood of areas, I'm going to farm people in my demographic within the geographic area, within my age limit, who also like fitness.
But here's the interesting part about that. I would go on beyond that. I would does it have to be within your age limit? Because here's the thing. What if
not necessarily.
Right? What if my last transactions, I'm let's say X years old, but my last transactions happen to be this demographic, my last 10 transactions. Because what you're saying is look at the rearview mirror, find what the common denominator is, and focus.
So I'll give you another example. So like we had that event a few weeks ago, and Josh Altman at the event, right? And we're talking to him, and he tells a story. I read his book too, and it's interesting. But his story is freaking really interesting. It's really good. I highly suggest you guys read the book if you can. But he wanted to break into the luxury market, right? So it took him like 3 years to do it. Now, what he ended up doing was hanging out at the Starbucks where all the stars hang out. So he inserted himself into the situation that he wanted to become. He built his brand by associating with the people and in the locations and the parties and the events of where he wanted to build that brand in. So it doesn't necessarily have to be demographically, although I would say 95% of the agents aren't going to do what he did, right? So I'm just being realistic it's usually a spitting image of yourself. But no, you could certainly do that. Did that make the answer?
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I mean, you're saying just.
I'm talking about your referral leads, because if you're, like it's generally on the referral, they're going to come from someone you know. Right? Like it's not coming from a stranger.
Right.
It's someone that you've done business with in the past. It might be an aunt, could be an uncle, could be a, college roommate, who knows? Right. But the people that you also are sort of just like. That's why you know them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Here's the other thing too, I would say, is that when you're the jack of all trades, you're the master of none. So like also a lot of agents, like, I wish I was a luxury agent. Sorry, bro, I'm just not. Right? I wish I could have been, but it wasn't who I was. So I think a lot of times, a lot of agents try to be something they're not. And that's one of the first realizations that you have to realize, like, know who you are. People call me with like tats, like, oh, I'm all sleeved up. I don't know if I should be on video. I'm like, what are you talking about? That's exactly why you should be on video. There's other people that will think that's really, really cool, believe it or not.
Well, and I think part of it too is focus on your strengths.
Yeah.
Focus on what you're good at, because we don't have all the time, right? We're limited on time.
Yep.
So focus on what you're good at, get better at what you're already good at. Number one, you're going to enjoy it because you're already good at it. Number two is you're going to do better because you're already good at it. And it's just going to be it's better all around. So, I mean, that's kind of what you're saying, right, Mike?
Yeah. Connect with the people you connect with naturally, and just remember everyone lives somewhere.
Yeah, you were big, kind of instrumental when we first met about just being your authentic self, right? Because that's who people like. That's what's gotten you to where you are today. So, Mike, a couple minutes left. Any closing remarks, statements, advice? Let's hear it for everyone out there.
I would say, focus. Do your numbers backwards, folks. When you're looking at your marketing and whatnot, where does the business really come from? Track your last 12 months. I believe there's just two ways to market your business in real estate. One is build a Rolodex of relationships. Two is prospect, right? You need to be doing both. The prospects eventually become part of your Rolodex of relationships, so they feed each other. They go hand in hand. Don't overthink this stuff. It's just about setting up a system and just staying in front of the people that matter most. But think about this and, do this little exercise at home and just be like, do all my friends, family, people I know really know what I do for a living? Think about that. Right. And just realize that every single one of them has the ability to refer you one deal a year. I don't know how the average agent can only do 6 sides a year. I think that's like impossible. I think they're living in a closet or underneath a bridge, because you're going to talk to more than 6 people over the course of the next 12 months, or you're in the wrong fucking business.
Yeah.
So, Mike, if people want to get a hold of you, get more information, learn more about some of the products you have, how do they do it?
Sure. Feel free to visit my website, guys. It's just pretty easy to remember, realestatemarketingdude.com. So if you missed that one up, I don't know what to tell you. But just go to the site. There's a lot of content on there. Absorb the blog. Subscribe to the podcast. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me.
Yeah, I mean, let's do a quick blast part of the podcast. Lab Coat Agents calls it one of the best 5 podcasts in the real estate space. What's the name of the podcast?
The name of the podcast is Real Estate Marketing Dude.
Great. Kevin, you have anything that you'd like to add, bro?
One thing I'd just say, just to kind of add on to what Mike was saying, is exactly what Mike was saying. In this business, and I heard this early on, is it's not about who you know, it's about who you know that knows what you do.
I love that. That's a really good saying.
Good.
Yeah. So that's it for me.
Well, Kevin, thanks as always. Mr. Mike Cuevas, real estate marketing dude. Thanks for
Having me.
We'll see you soon, hopefully.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you guys.